We continue with the NBA. Justine Termine is here. Justin is the host of NBA Today on Sirius XM Radio. Justin, number one, thanks so much for being here. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, I guess let's start with the Knicks. A lot of our audience obviously cares about the Knicks. Now, a nightmarish season last year. They only come up with 17 wins. But as we speak, 15-19, 4 games under 500. How would you characterize the Knicks season thus far?
Well, thus far, it's all about the development of Kristaps Porzingis, and I think that's been a huge surprise. You do a redraft of this, and this is where we talk about things daily nationally over at Sirius XM, is that this guy would go number 2. And, of course, D'Angelo Russell went number 2. He went to the Los Angeles Lakers. At number 3, you had Jahlil Okafor down in Philadelphia. You do a redraft, and I speak with a lot of people around the league. They say Porzingis, without a doubt, would be the 2nd overall pick, and that's what the season's all about. It's not about whether or not they make the playoffs or not. It's about whether or not they can get this guy headed in the right direction for the future.
You know, obviously he had a great start, and then maybe field goal percentage and three-point percentage down a bit now. He's struggling a little bit, but what have you liked about his game thus far?
Well, I mean, you look at last night's game, for example, when they go up against the Chicago Bulls, all you needed to see was the little lefty hook.
Right.
The fact that he is a 20-year-old kid, a rookie in the league, 7'3", and he can use his left hand like that. 99% of the league can't do something like that. So he's got little things like that that stick out. Also, just the personality, the way that he deals with adversity. Of course, getting booed on opening night and bouncing back from that. But just the way that he approaches the moment, I think, is stuff that you have to be pleased with.
When he was drafted, tell me the truth. Honestly, what did you think his upside was this season? Because a lot of people, like you said, they booed, and now all of a sudden people are like, hey, he's the greatest thing ever. It's like, no, there's a gray area there. What is it?
Yeah,
what did you think?
Well, when I had not seen him prior to getting drafted, not even little videotape, but I had spoken with guys like Mike Dunleavy Sr., who is a guy that I worked with over in the station, former Lakers head coach and been around the league a lot, and he had said immediately, this guy has to be the number 2 overall pick. If he was in charge of a team, he would have taken him there just behind Karl Anthony Towns, and I still think that's the way that it's going to be. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns for Minnesota, surefire superstar, looks like he's going to be a Hall of Famer. Porzingis, I mean, you do the comparisons to Dirk, for example, all the numbers across the board, better than Dirk's as a rookie. Now, Dirk's one of the 25, 30 best players in the history of the league.
Right.
So you can't say offensively he's going to be better than him, but already at this point, he's better than Dirk's ever been as a rebounder and as a defender. One
of the interesting things about the East, I think, thus far, a lot of parity. The Knicks, as we speak, are 12th, but they're only 5 games out of 5th.
Yeah.
Now, you said it doesn't matter if they make the playoffs. Do you think they will? It seems like a lot of teams are bunched together between like 7 and 12. Are the Knicks going to get in?
Yeah, the Knicks aren't going to make the postseason. Oh. And again, I know they don't have their draft pick, so it's important to get in for that reason because you're not going to benefit from being in the lottery, but it still shouldn't be the focus. The focus should be on the development of some of the younger kids, and they're not one of the teams that's in the mix. But you're right. I mean, I think it's teams 2 through 9 are separated by 3 or 4 games. You can go into on a Monday and be in 2nd place and then come out on Friday and you're out of the postseason.
The Nets, let's talk about them. They're awful. A lot of people thought they would be bad before the season started. Only the 76ers and Lakers have fewer wins. Why is Brooklyn so bad?
Well, I mean, here's the thing with Brooklyn. There's a lot of teams that are bad, like Philadelphia and Los Angeles, that you look at them and at least they have something to play for in the future. They've got some young pieces they can build around. Brooklyn doesn't even have that. And if you want to just look specifically at what's bad about this roster, forget about all the draft picks that they gave up. It's the backcourt. I mean, Joe Johnson has taken a step back significantly, and Jarrett Jack, arguably the worst point guard in the game. Now, it's an upgrade over Deron Williams in that he's a leader and he wants to be out there on the floor and guys like him. But as far as his play, quality backup, not a guy that should be a starting point guard in the NBA.
And you mentioned those draft picks in terms of selling the farm to get Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce. Are the Nets then cap-wise and with those picks gone hamstrung now for the X number of years?
Yeah, I mean, the cap will be a little bit better situation for the upcoming year because of the new CBA that comes in this upcoming year with the ramifications from the television money. So they're going to have a lot more money to spend for the upcoming season. Joe Johnson also comes off the books. The issue with them is our guys want to come and play in this situation when really you don't have any assets. So as a Kevin Durant, for example, or a Mike Conley, who's often linked to them from Memphis, are they going to want to come into the situation where for the foreseeable future you're not going to win? I don't know if guys want to do that.
Let's look at the East as a whole. can anybody beat the Cavs? Let's just cut right to it.
No, and the East is better than it's been in the past. Again, it goes maybe 9-10 deep with teams that are over 500. Nobody else has a shot. And that's the way it's been for several years. And I look at it from this perspective. You have two teams that can win a championship out of the West. It's San Antonio, it's Golden State. You have one in the Cavaliers that can come out of the East. It's a guarantee that Cleveland's coming out.
Okay, that said, give me one team in the East that you think could make a deep run into April, May, and June that is not Cleveland.
Yeah, and they're not playing well right now, but it's because of the experience, and they arguably have the best starting five in the NBA, not just the East, and that's the Miami Heat. They have the experience with Bosh, Wade, etc. They got a coach in Spoelstra that's been there before. That's a team that could make a run and maybe scare Cleveland a little bit.
And they really played very good defense, too, and Miami plays good defense, as you know. They can be up there in the top couple. Turning to the Western Conference now, what has impressed you the most about Golden State's historic start?
Well, I mean, first of all, the fact they did it at the start of the season to win 24 consecutive games, it's a lot different when you're trying to protect the win streak when there's a 0 next to it. So that was just phenomenal. And the next closest was a 15-game win streak by the 49 Capitals and the 94 Rockets. So that was an impressive part about it. The other part is LeBron James came out maybe 15 to 18 games through this streak and said, well, they're the healthiest team I've ever seen, and tried to throw some cold water on it. That's not the case. Bogut has missed 6 or 7 games. You've got Harrison Barnes, who's missed 14. Curry has now missed 2. Now they lost one of those games. Klay Thompson missed a couple. So they've been injured across the board. And that's not even to mention their head coach and Steve Kerr, which is a big loss as well. So they've overcome a lot of adversity to do this.
My oldest son is a huge NBA fan, and we talk about the league all the time and the players. And I tell him the thing that gets me about Steph Curry is Steph Curry makes shots that other players don't even attempt, right? And it's so natural. Just what is it about his game that has kind of separated him in the last, I guess, year and a half now?
Well, he's the greatest shooter I've ever seen. Now, I always had said for the last, 20 years, greatest shooter I've ever seen is Larry Bird. And other people throw other names into that mix. This guy's the best shooter I've ever seen. Now, I understand the rules are a little bit different than when Bird were playing and some of the other great shooters are playing, because now you can't touch guys. So he gets a little bit more room in order to operate with. Right. But the thing that's underestimated about Curry is not only can he shoot like this, he's also the best passer in the league, and he's probably the second best ball handler in the league, behind only Kyrie Irving. So across the board in almost every single category, he's the best at it.
Why do you think the Spurs could challenge them?
Well, one, their defense is much better than Golden State's. And Golden State last year was #1 defensively. They've taken steps back here this year in that category, even though they've continued to win. And Golden State will tell you they're not playing as good as they did at points last year. And another stat that you look to, and this is stat-based, they're outscoring their opponents by 13.5 points per game. That's more than Golden State is, and that's something you look at, and that'd be an NBA record up to this point. 12.3 was the record previously. They're at 13.5. That's a historic rate. So they're a lot better defensively. And Kawhi Leonard has gone from a very good player and a very good defensive player, the best perimeter defender in the game, to just arguably the second or third best player in the NBA. You took a vote of MVPs right now, it'd be Steph #1 by a landslide. After that, you'd have people arguing LeBron, you'd have people arguing Kawhi Leonard.
Who wins the West?
That's a tight one. I'm going to go San Antonio right now.
You are? You're going to take them over Golden State?
Over Golden State.
They find a way to beat them 4 times in 7 games?
Yeah, I think they can do it.
And the East?
East is Cleveland, without a doubt.
No chance anyone else?
Nobody else.
Okay, Spurs and Cavs. Who wins the title?
I think San Antonio will win the title. Now, I think Cleveland will beat Golden State. I think San Antonio can beat Cleveland.
Okay, all right. Justine Termine, host of NBA Today on Sirius XM Radio. Thanks so much for being here, man.
Mark, appreciate the time. Thanks for having me.